Hey, what's up? It's time for more of this. I tried to do one yesterday, but my voice sounded so bad, and I started choking so badly after like a minute that I had to stop. But I went to the clinic today, and my strep throat analysis came back negative. They said I've just got like a bunch of fluids in my fucking shit. So, whatever. I sound okay enough to record now. So, continuing with OVAs. We start with Gunbuster, a classic 80s OVA directed by Hideaki Anno. I enjoyed this a good bit. I think I watched it after Die Buster, and I've never gone back and watched them in order, which I would like to do at some point. But Gunbuster, it starts off kind of slow, and I think this is kind of agreed upon even among people who like this show, that like the early episodes, as I understand it, are kind of meant to be like a send-up of Ace Onerai, Aim for the Ace, the tennis anime from the 70s, and then it kind of develops into more of a like epic sci-fi robot show. So the early episodes, it takes a little bit of getting into. When they start introducing other characters, it starts picking up a bit more. But really, it's all about the last few episodes when the sci-fi concepts really get ramped up, that the show gets exciting. And it has one of the best endings of all time, just in terms of tying a cool sci-fi concept into something really emotionally resonant, that just works really well as a payoff for the show. It's pretty good. I don't know what I'd score it if I watched it now, because I don't know how much better or worse it is than how I perceived it back in like 2008. So I'm going to go ahead and just guess that I'd give it a 7 or an 8. I have no idea. Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko. This is the first of two episode OVAs. The second one I never actually finished. Adapting Yokohama Shopping Log, which is a long ass manga that was once described. Someone once said, if Aria is the cannabis of slice of life shows, then YKK is injecting heroin directly into your eyeballs. And yeah, it's just the slowest, most methodical, most laid back, most Iyashikei show ever made. And yeah, I think I'd probably give it like a 6, because, again, as I've made clear many times, I'm not the biggest Iyashikei guy. I just kind of get bored watching them most of the time. As pretty and as soothing and as nice as this show is, and it's got robot girls kissing in it. That's cool, but it's not really my speed. Now we've got Die Buster. This is, again, I've only seen this once. This, I kind of had the reverse of my impressions of Gunbuster at the time that I watched this, but I think my impressions of Die Buster had to do with me just not understanding it and like kind of losing track of the plot. Because I was really into it in the early episodes, and I love the directing style of this thing and the animation of it. It's Kazuya Tsurumaki, after having directed Fooly Cooly, and it's got all the great Gainax shit in it, essentially. I remember being really into it at first, and the bright color palette. This was like, when this came out, this was like the most beautiful show ever at the time. It was like one of the first OVAs, I think, that was released in HD, or at least it was one of the first ones that I saw HD footage of it. I don't know if that was from the recut, like the movie or whatever, but I remember when HD AMV started being a thing, they would all use like scenes from Die Buster because it looked so fucking good. In any case, it's a beautiful show. I remember in the second half losing track of the plot, but I don't know how much of that was because the plot gets weird in the second half, and how much of it is just that I like literally didn't understand, because that is typical of me at the time frame that I watched this. So I'm gonna guess, once again, without really a clear answer, that I'd probably give it a 7 or an 8, maybe higher, maybe lower. I don't know. Kanojo to Kanojo no Neko, or She and Her Cat, one of the first things created by Makoto Shinkai. I have never liked this film. I think it's way too moody and melodramatic. I don't care about cats personally, so I think you kind of have to like cats and have dealt with loneliness and enjoy sentimental shit in order to like this, and that's a combination I fall short in certain places. Gundam or Battle Angel Alita. Sorry if it sounds weird. I feel like a fucking like polyp came off of my tonsil and I'm trying to swallow it, so that's why I'm fucking making gross noises. Battle Angel Alita, another long-running manga with a 2-episode OVA adaptation. This one is a cyberpunk sci-fi, sort of a almost post-apocalyptic feeling. Like it definitely feels like it's in the like inspired by stuff like Road Warrior and shit. It's about fucking kick-ass robot girl fighting big robot dudes, and it's fairly dark and violent. I don't think the OVA is quite as grimdark as the manga usually is, because it only adapts a couple of scenarios. Very gorgeous to look at, like an unbelievably beautiful production, which I think is probably why we will never get a proper Battle Angel Alita anime, because like the artwork is very detailed, and this OVA set the standard so high. I don't know if you could do it unless you did it in CG, which would be unfortunate, but, you know, maybe it'll happen. Maybe if fucking, what's his fuck, the Avatar and, what the fuck is his name? The director of Avatar and Titanic. He owns the rights to Battle Angel Alita, and he's been meaning to do a live-action film of it forever. But, I think if he ever did, we'd probably get an anime revival. Wolf's Rain, the OVA. Oh wait, I already scored that. Never mind. Blue Submarine number 6. This was one of the early Gonzo works. Another one that was an early blend of CG and 2D animation. It has some beautiful character designs from Reiji Murata. Some really interesting visuals all around. It's a really weird story about a world that's like completely underwater and some like mermaid fish people. And like it's got another one with like a weird grimdark tinge to it that feels kind of odd. This whole thing felt weird to me. Like I watched it and I remember just being like not that enthusiastic about the storyline and kind of confused about the world and like characters, like what they were up to. Like it felt like the intentions of the series weren't that clear in the beginning, and as it goes on they got more unclear or something. I don't know how to describe it, but I wasn't that into it. I'd probably give it like a 5 or a 6. Sweat Punch. So this is a compilation of 5 short films that Studio 4C made. I don't remember 4 of them. In fact, this says I've seen 1 episode. I don't know if that's because it was listed as 1 or if like it says completed but ep seen 1. That's how you can tell this has been on my list for 10 fucking years, because this is before they fixed a lot of the glitches in my anime list. But in any case, the one I saw was comedy, or the one I remember at least. Which is a really phenomenal 10-minute short film with gorgeous animation, really wonderful characters, and a mysterious narrative. There's Demolition D did a whole video where he recommends short films, and he talked about that one at length, and you just go watch that if you need more convincing. But you should check it out. It's pretty good. I remember at the time, I think I gave it like a 9 or a 10. I doubt I'd do that for a 10-minute short film today. I'd probably give it like a 7 at best, but maybe higher if it's better than I remember. I also remember I watched it in like shit quality, because I could only find it in like 240p on YouTube or something, so it would probably help even more if I saw it in high quality. Digital Juice. This was also a compilation of short films from Studio 4C. Again, it says complete. I'm guessing these were just listed as 1 back in the day, and then they were later considered to be episodes as opposed to like a movie. But I don't remember any of them. Like I know I watched all of them, and I don't remember any of them, because like Studio 4C shorts were usually just fucking weird, like not necessarily impactful or having a point. They were usually just weird. So I'd probably give it like a 5. Which is what I usually give art house shit that I don't have much opinion about. Dominion, I remember I watched this on like Tech TV or something. It aired like 1 time on television, and I had liked it a good amount, but we're talking about almost 15 years ago, so I don't remember shit about what happens. I'm just gonna fucking spitball and say 7 and leave it at that, but I'd love to rewatch it. Alien 9. This is a fucked up, weird, I consider it a biopunk alien manga and anime series. I've got both. The anime only adapts like the first volume, if even that, of the manga because it's only 4 episodes. And actually, I think it's the first volume and a half or something like that. But like, the manga continues and keeps, finishes out the plot. They never made more of the anime. I think they intended to and just didn't get the funding for it or something. But it's pretty cool. Like, it's really well animated. It's fucking weird. It's about these 3 little girls who have aliens on their head and they have to catch other aliens that are invading their school. And none of them want to do it, and it's just gross and weird. Like, to them, it is just a gross, weird experience. Well, I'm like, I just had a fucking weird moment where I looked above my webcam and there's literally an Alien 9 poster directly behind the webcam. It fucking shook me for a second. But anyways, it's really good. I'd give it an 8 probably. I watched that not too long before I started these ratings, so I feel fairly confident in that number. The Animatrix, on the other hand, I haven't seen in fucking 15 years, once again. I mean, I was really into it when it came out because I was both into The Matrix and anime, so I thought this was pretty fucking cool. Though I remember that even back then, I really only liked a few of them because a lot of them were like so art house and confusing that like I didn't really get it. Like, I remember the second Renaissance ones were pretty badass. Kid's Story and Detective Story were the two that were from Shinichiro Watanabe, which I think I probably liked them just for that reason, because I don't really remember understanding them. I just remember thinking it was cool that he directed them. But most of them I like just was like, I don't understand what the fuck I'm watching. I don't know what the fuck I'd give it now. I don't know how good it is, so I have no clue. Parasite Dolls. This is a pretty shitty 90s pulp OVA. Oh no, 2000s, early 2000s pulp OVA. Feels very 90s. Like it's, I think yeah, it's related to the AD Police series, which was from around the same time. Like, it's pretty like du jour cyberpunk pulp. Like, not really much on the cyberpunk side though. It's more of like a cop thing, but like, it's gritty and violent, but it's just not that good. It's not that interesting. It's kind of dumb in places. I remember writing a review of it on my anime blog. In fact, I believe that review was on Mal, but it's probably hidden now. It was one of the reviews I'd put on here, but yeah. It's like a whatever. I'd probably give it like a 5, if that. This looks like porn. Oh, this is Body Transfer. This is a porn that I've watched because it would come up in Yuri compilations all the time. It's about a bunch of people transferring bodies with one another. So, it's good. I give it a porn out of 10. Here's a porn that I don't think is good, but I had to watch it. Blood Royale. This is one of the Akiyuki Shinbo directed porns. This one has scat in it. Yeah. And not the best production values. We're just in a porn zone now. This is all porn. This one, which the fuck is this one? I don't even remember this one. It's called Wife Eater. Stainless Night. This is the best Yuri porn, like the best full blown, like it's all Yuri, as if I remember correctly. One of the girls is a robot, and she does have like an energy dick that she fucks the other girl with at one point. And there is a lot of Yuri rape in it, but it's all Yuri, and it's really well animated. Like, this is probably the best animation in any porn anime. It looks fucking incredible. Like, you should, if you're a Sakuga nerd, watch this for the Sakuga, at least. And Moonlight Lady. This is also this is one of those, like, porn with a plot things. And it's related to I think it's based on a visual novel, but that visual novel, is also related to Tokugatan, which is like an actual anime. And I talked about it in my, dropped list, I'm sure. I think we're out of the porn woods now. We've got Ninja Resurrection. This is the worst anime I've ever seen. It's at least on, it's For a very long time, my rating scale went like this. You had like I gave like a 1 to Kaido Maru, which we'll get to in a bit, and I gave a -2 to Ninja Resurrection. This is a just horrible, cruel, grimdark OVA that was marketed for some reason as a Ninja Scroll sequel when it came to America, because the main character just happens to also be named Jubei. Because Jubei Yagyu is just like a common, like, sword. Like, I don't know if he was like a famous swordsman or something, but it's like a name that comes up in multiple shows. So this completely unrelated OVA that also has a Jubei was marketed as Ninja Scroll 2, which it's not. It's 2 episodes. The first one is just some grimdark bullshit about some, like, there's like a hero who, like, is supposed to be like the second coming of Jesus or something, but he won't kill anybody. And then, like, I remember that there's a part where this old man like cuts off the heads of these 2 kids, like, just to fuck with the guy. And it was just so, like, I saw this when I was a kid and it like fucked with me. Like, I had nightmares about this thing because it was so dark and gruesome, but like senselessly. Like, there's no good part to this. It's all just dark, grim shit. Episode 2, basically this guy is like using his, like, wants his daughter to be a vessel for Satan because he's in some Satan cult. So there's like this extensive rape scene of his daughter getting raped and impregnated with a demon, and then the daughter, like, you know, gives birth to Satan and, like, or like to like 4 demons or whatever, and she just like dies, and then these demons come out, and then like the demons awaken and they like murder all these fucking people in the streets, and they're like, oh, we're gonna take over the world, and that's how it ends, because it was supposed to be more, but it didn't. No more got made. So, like, yeah, it's just a bunch of grimdark shit happens, and then it's over, and it's fucking horrible. And again, was marketed as a Ninja Scroll sequel. So lots of people have seen it, as you can see through from these ratings of these reviews, such as 1, 3, 2, 1. It's one of the worst anime ever made. So yeah, I would not recommend it to anybody. Queen Emeraldus. This is one of the old Leiji Matsumoto works. I only saw this because it came on, like, Tech TV or something, again, like, one time, and I happened to see it in, like, 2003. I don't remember the first thing about it. And they have, the manga is getting released now in the US, and I want to buy it because I'm curious about it, but it's only in $25 hardback volumes. I don't want to pay $25 just to sate my curiosity, because it's from, like, the 70s. So, like, there's a good chance it's going to feel, like, weird and dated, and I don't know if I'll be able to get into it. I don't know. Just give it to me. Why did it have to be a $25 hardcover? Why can't you just sell it at, like $15 normal one? Anyway. No, we're only 18 minutes in. Yarima Queen. What is this? This porn? Sex Demon Queen. I'd say it's porn. Is this the funny one? I think this is like a funny one. I think this one has like an extended Yuri scene in it too. If I remember correctly. Negima Haru Special. I don't remember seeing this. I don't know when I watched this. I probably was, like, on a Shinbo kick and watched it just because it was Shinbo, and, like, I don't fucking know, dude. I don't remember watching it at all, so I have no score. Kaido Maru. This is also one of the worst anime I've seen, and this one was especially bad because of the dub. So, like, Kaido Maru, this thing would get advertised in magazines all the time. Like, all the magazines I would read would have a Kaido Maru ad, and it's a Production IG show. Now, the funny thing about Production IG is that Production IG has a reputation for being, like, the best anime studio. Even I have said it many times, because, like, when they do something good, it's the most, like, gorgeously, lavishly animated, highest budget production in the world. Ghost in the Shell, Psycho-Pass, Eden of the East. Like, these are shows that look incredible and usually have some kind of, like, smart sci-fi plot and stuff like that. But when they do shit, they do the weirdest shit. because it'll be shit in like a totally different way from how normal stuff is shit. Like it'll be experimental but in a bad way, or like just like confusing and weird. Well, we're gonna get to another weird production IG one later in this list, but Kaido Maru is like 50 minutes long, and like the art style is constantly changing because they tried to implement like brushstroke style to make it look like classical Japanese or whatever, but like it doesn't look right, and the animation switching back and forth doesn't look right, and like when it's not in those moments it looks terrible. Like half of it looks awful, and there's like CG in there that looks really bad too, so it totally clashes with the other shit. The plot is like a mess and doesn't make any sense. It doesn't really conclude, and also it has like a shit tier dub. So I saw this on TV one time and was just basically laughing at it the whole way through about how fucking awful it was. And yeah, I was like, why the fuck did they put so much advertising budget into this when it's such a fucking train wreck? Yeah, I'd probably give it a 1. Meanwhile, Garzy's Wing is a train wreck, but is a 10 out of 10 because it's legitimately entertaining. Maria Samagami Teru Season 3, probably give it the same score I gave the other seasons. I remember it being just as good. Kikaider 01. This was a weird thing. So Kikaider was a 12-episode series adapted from like a 70s manga, I think, that aired on Cartoon Network. And then there was like this other OVA that it's like not exactly related. Like I think they're both different adaptations or something. I'm not entirely fucking sure. Like, I think it's considered a sequel, but I remember that it was a sequel, but, like, from a different continuity or something. Like, it was weird. I remember watching it and not understanding it, because I had seen some of Kikaider, and then this thing came out, and I was like, wait, this isn't the same story. I could be wrong about this. I don't know if I'm just remembering weird, but, like, I mean, this guy says this is how you make a squell, so obviously this is how U made a squell. This is how U made a squell. Oh my god. Mal reviews are an endless source of gold. Oh, baby. Here we've got another of Akiyuki Shinbo's porns. The weirdest one, Unbalance or Sibling Secret. It's basically all rape and weird camera angles and lighting and shit. And then we have Imoto Jiru, which... Good lord, how did they... This is like a censored thumbnail. Like, you can't make any mistake about what it is. I'm not gonna leave it on screen, lest I get into trouble. But, Jesus Christ, that thumbnail. That never happens in it, by the way, though it's a combination of things that do happen. Imoto Jiru is the porn anime I have seen the most times, because it was like the first one I ever saw, when I was like 16, and I was first becoming a lolly man, and, I saw it, and I thought it was like a magical experience, and for years I'd only seen episode 1, I couldn't find episode 2 at the time, and then I saw it like years later, but I've watched it probably upwards of 10 times, just because it's a classic in my mind. Like, I've seen it so many times over the years. So I give Imoto Jiru the strongest porn out of 10 that I could possibly give. It's probably like a 6 or a 7. It's not like amazing. It has some pretty good animation at parts. Weirdly, even though it's a show called Younger Sister Juice, and it's mostly about fucking younger sisters, the scene where he fucks his stepmom in episode 1 is by far the best sex scene in the whole thing, because the animation's incredible. Anyway, very similar in art style and theming is Little Monica Monogatari, which is also pretty fun OVA. This one, the problem with this one is that the character designs are much, much better than the animation. Like, you look at them here, and they look all fucking plump and ripe and shit. And some of them do. The cat girl, who's not even in that picture, does in the actual show. Anyway, it's like a 7, whatever. Animation Runner Kuromi. This was the OG Shirobako. It's a show about a girl who's the production assistant on a fucking anime, and she has to run around constantly trying to get everybody to do their job and organize it. It's a much like goofier show than Shirobako. It's more comedy focused, but it's the same kind of atmosphere. It's about how making animation is hell. Um, it's pretty alright. I give it like a 6 or a 7 probably. There's a sequel that's I think even more zany if I remember correctly, but yeah, they're both just okay. Grappler Baki the OVA. This is a particularly weird thing because I had seen this way before I even heard about the Baki TV series, which is based on the manga, which is a really long running manga. It's a pretty long show too, about the super muscular kid and his super muscular dad and all this muscles and fighting and shit. But this OVA is like completely unrelated. Like the main character looks nothing like Baki does in the other series. Like the whole art style is different. It's more realistic. It's kind of just like an MMA. It's basically just one fight. Like the conceit of it is there's this underground tournament where people like beat the shit out of each other, but like they can go all the way. Like, you know, like fucked up stuff will happen. And Baki is like a dude who's fighting in there, and he fights this other dude, and he beats him, and that's the whole thing. It's just like a fight. The main intrigue point is that his like retinal, like the dude like reaches into his neck and pulls out his like a cord that makes his eye fucking shut off. It's pretty brutal, but like that's like the only thing that happens that's like of note in this OVA. So I'd probably give it like a 5 or a 6. I remember it being good looking, but it's been ages. I think it came with, I think the reason I saw this is that it was like a B-side to another movie. Like they used to sell like some of these OVAs in like 2-packs. Like for instance, there was a Yu Yu Hakusho and Ninku the movie 2-pack. I think Grappler Baki was in a 2-pack like that. Gakuen Tokuso Hikaruon. This was like a transforming hero thing OVA with some kind of like weird cinematography at times, but like it was really nothing to write home about. I'd probably give it like a 4 or a 5. Outlanders, meanwhile, this was like a one OVA, like a one-off from a longer running manga that was like kind of just a ripoff of like Urusei Yatsura meets like Project Eiko or something. Like it's just like a sex comedy about aliens who like kidnap a guy and fuck him or something. It's got tits if I remember correctly, so that's nice. I'd probably give it like a strong 5 to a light 6. I remember it being a fun time, but like not memorable. Tobira o Akete. I don't even remember this one. I think this is like yeah, it's 11 minutes Studio 4C. It's probably just a bunch of weird shit. It's probably worth like a 4. I don't know. I don't remember it. Twilight Q. This one's interesting. This was supposed to be an anime answer to like the Twilight Zone, where it was going to be an anthology series, a proper anthology series. Each episode has a totally different director and it's about something completely different. But it only had 2 episodes before it was canceled. The first one being from director Tomomi Mochizuki, who you will know for, well, recently he did Battery, which no one fucking liked. But he has done good stuff. Like, for instance, he did Ocean Waves, right? I think. But what the fuck is the Japanese title of Ocean Waves? He did House of Five Leaves. He's generally known for like sort of lower tempo, like in Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko. Like, yeah, again, super lower tempo series that have some deeper emotions to them. But his part is not very good. His episode, he did episode 1, it's it's not memorable. However, episode 2 is Mamoru Oshii, who you probably know as the director of Ghost in the Shell and fucking writer of Jinro, director of fucking Angel's Egg, Skycrawlers, a fucking legend. And his episode is fantastic. I highly recommend it. It's fucking weird. It's very slow, but it's got really cool imagery and artwork and designs and like one of those, I mean, it's a Mamoru Oshii film through and through. Like, it's basically one of his films in 22 minutes. which is a nice compact package. I would say Twilight Q is like kind of how I got into his stuff, because at first I really was not a big fan of Mamoru Oshii's films. Like, I didn't really get it at first, but watching that one, like, I think because it was smaller and easier to wrap my head around, it was the first time I like really enjoyed one of his works. Then later I got way into the Sky Crawlers, and that kind of broke the floodgates open. Um, and the last one I'll talk about is Cosmo Police Justy. This is another 80s sort of pulp sci-fi story that I think is better than this score that it's got on here. It's actually pretty entertaining. It's about like a psychic space dude, and he's like a police guy. Yeah, Criminal Espers. I don't know. I remember it being fun. I'd probably give it like a 6. I don't remember that much about it, but I remember it being worth watching. I think it was featured in Buried Treasures on Anime News Network at some point, and that's why I had watched it. And yeah, it's not bad, in spite of having a relatively low score on here. And that is 30 minutes, so I'll catch you in the next one, which I'll probably record immediately after getting a drink.